Hey, now I think we've got some audio. I hope everybody who is here, which I think right now, oh wait, there's me. There's maybe one other person here. If you are here, hi, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Again, I know this was kind of last minute. This seems to be my go-to. Oh, thank you very much. That is the wife bringing me an adult beverage that tastes like Eggo waffles. So if you have a chance to try that, highly recommend. And it smells just like breakfast as a kid. It's amazing. So yeah, so it looks like more people are joining. Appreciate that. Real glad to see that people are joining. Just wanted kind of to touch base on a couple of different things. I know I haven't really been putting out a lot of content lately, and I wanted to touch base on that. And also, speaking about content, I was hoping to pick the brains of those who choose to join this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever, whatever time it happens to be, wherever you are. So yeah, I thought we would just chat for a little bit. Man, I really need to turn off. I've got one of these Insta 360s, and it keeps like it's cute that it does that, but sometimes it's really frustrating. Let me turn that off. Because I've told it to frame me. That's my fault. Absolutely my fault there. So hopefully, yeah. Now I can move around, and shouldn't have that issue. Optimus Prime, man. Hey, thanks for showing up. Thanks for your comment. Appreciate it. Kubernetes is super popular for a lot of people. I know there are some home labbers that use it a bit. I am not one of them. I I guess I still like to get my hands dirty a little bit, so to speak. I like to get in there and actually manually configure everything, rather than doing orchestration and that sort of thing. Like I would like to have the mindset that gives a damn about orchestration and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't presently, and that might change at some point. I am still working on making my mental health a bit more healthier, because that's how you say words and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I would really like to care about orchestration. I'm just not quite there in my brain space yet. So it's something that I'm definitely thinking about. Matt Dixon, man, thank you for watching the educational videos that I make. I really do enjoy making content, and I know that seems kind of paradoxical based on the amount of content that I've put out recently. But I guess that's one of the first things that we can talk about here, just real quick. Some of it we've talked about a little bit, some of it we haven't, that sort of thing. JD, dude, hey, thanks for showing up. Really appreciate you being here, man. Um, so, so why haven't I been making content? Let's talk about that. Um, it's a few different things, really. Um, One of those things is, like July. We've talked about July in previous live streams, where I had a couple of deaths in my family on two different ends. Like I've got a lot of mixed family, and even people who aren't blood related. I still there's a lot of people who aren't blood related that I still consider family, who have been there more for me than my biological family has been. So those people are still very much family. Early July, my dad died, and I would like to feel bad about it, but I don't. He was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict. He was abusive mentally, physically, whatever. And we hadn't really chatted much in the last couple of years, just due to a conflict of interest. We'll call it that. Also, hey, how's my audio? I know a lot of people complain that my audio is always too low. Can anybody give me a check on whether or not my audio is okay? Um, so, sorry, I was just eating cashews and I got a nut stuck in my teeth. Anyway, so I flew back home, not home. I flew back to Idaho, where I'm originally from, and dealt with that situation, and it was whatever. Um, all good. Thanks, Lewis. Appreciate you. So I dealt with that, and then awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the sound check. I don't like. I've got all of my audio turned off. Obviously, I'm not wearing earbuds, right? Like nothing. I don't know. Anyway, because I'm a one man show and I don't have anybody else giving me input, I don't feel the need to have it. So So went to that funeral, dealt with that situation. And then a few days later, I had oral surgery, had 4 wisdom teeth and 1 other molar removed. And I've been kind of fighting with that a little bit still. And then my neighbor, who was like a grandmother to the entire neighborhood, sweet lady, she passed away. That's annoying. So she passed away, and that actually hit me harder than my own dad dying. She was closer to me. We spent more time together, that sort of thing. So that one kind of messed me up a little bit, and I just had to kind of deal with that mentally. And so my mental health has been recovering a little bit, and that's been okay. But lately, we've been busy. So when my neighbor died, she was in her 70s. We're not entirely sure what happened, but her brother drove from Washington to help us go through the house. Like, we'd been in touch with him and that sort of thing, and then so basically we're taking over the executorship of her will. She had left him as the executor, but he's older than she was, and he just doesn't want to mess with it. So we're currently talking to we're trying to get a hold of some lawyers and that sort of thing to transition the executorship from him to me and my wife, so that we can handle the transition of everything and that sort of thing, but then also take over the payments on her mortgage and that sort of thing. And we had to empty the house. We had to do a bunch of painting. We had to do all kinds of stuff. And then the weekend of my birthday is actually when my neighbor's brother showed up, and then that put this whole chaotic spiral of events into place. That was the weekend of August 28th. Or the weekend prior to August 28th. And so when he showed up, it put this whole spiral of events into place, that everything had to happen instantly just to make sure that nothing went wrong. So that involved my wife flying back to Idaho to rent a truck and help her daughter and her son-in-law, our daughter, our son-in-law, whatever. It's from a previous marriage, but we've been in each other's lives for more than a decade now. So she flew up there, rented a truck. They loaded the truck. They drove it back. And for the last week, basically, we have been unpacking the house, or removing all of our neighbors' stuff out of the house, doing the painting, moving the new stuff in, the cleaning, the whole bit, and it's been exhausting. So that's kind of the basics of why I've been trying to get in a live stream here and there, more than doing dedicated videos. I like the interaction of you guys. JD, thank you for your comment. I really do appreciate that. I really wish they would fix that. There's a convalescent center. I don't even know if that's the right term. I don't mean to be offensive, but there's a center, a rehab center for physical rehabilitation behind us. They've got a swamp cooler on top that periodically just screams like Satan. Yeah. Hey, Shane, dude, thanks for showing up. Appreciate you being here. Anyway, so I've been able to just jump on and do these live streams because I can interact with you guys, and we can have conversations, and we can talk, and you guys can talk, and all of that sort of stuff. And I love doing that. So because making a video involves a lot of prep work, and it involves a lot of, setting up my area or writing a script and then recording everything and then editing and then trying to come up with a clever thumbnail that doesn't make me feel like a whore, and then uploading the video and then releasing the video and then panicking as to whether or not I screwed something up. And it's just my brain hasn't been in a video creation mood. I've been very much kind of on the, just press go and let it rip and let's see what happens. So that is why I haven't been releasing a lot of content lately. But I'm trying to get into making some more content. I've got several more products that are either here or on their way that I'm going to release some reviews on, some unboxing, some first impressions, that sort of thing. And I'm super excited about doing some of that. I've got actually this one. I don't know. I might do this one. A while back I did an Ace Magic video about an AK-1 mini PC, and it's a good PC for certain things, not a great PC for other things. And they're like, hey, we really liked your video. We want to send you another device. So they sent it, and then I realized it was the exact same device, just in a different colored case and has RGB around the top. So so I don't know what I'm going to do with this as far as content is concerned, but I do have a couple of other mini PCs on their way. I've got oh, dude, Tommy, thank you. If you're here, thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate you. So yeah, I've got all kinds of video ideas regarding hardware, and therein kind of lies the issue with regards to the other content that I've been making for so long that I've enjoyed making for a really long time. Gannon, hey, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Anyway, I know, like, we've done several live streams over the last few weeks, and I've taken a lot of notes and that sort of thing. And the thing that I have noticed is that I feel like I have covered just about every Docker container I can find that I enjoy. You know, in fact, I've covered Docker containers multiple times that I don't enjoy. I've made so many Nextcloud videos, and I hate Nextcloud. Like, I get that people like it, and I don't understand why. So things like that, I'm having to kind of reassess how things are going to move forward on the channel. I'm not going anywhere. I don't want anybody to get that mixed up. Like, I'm still going to create content when I can, how I can, that sort of thing. And I hope that with some of the changes that will be coming up, there'll be a lot more hardware coming up, just because I enjoy reviewing hardware. I think that's really what it boils down to. And again, I've reviewed so many Docker containers, and I kind of shot myself in the foot early on. Hold on one second. Oh, go jump, or I guess you're gonna go swim. All right, dude, enjoy. So anyway, so I'm still going to periodically find Docker containers that I'm going to review, that I'm going to talk about, that I'll make videos about, those sorts of things. But I think until I come up with more video ideas for Docker containers and that sort of thing, I think there's a good chance that you're going to see a bit more hardware reviews and unboxings and that sort of stuff while I kind of figure out some other stuff in the background. So I hope that doesn't upset anybody too much. I hope that people will still hang out and enjoy the content and that sort of thing. I hope that doesn't offend too many people. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on there. And there's one other thing that I think has mentally been holding me up, and this is kind of where I'm hoping that I can pick the brains of you guys. I'm hoping that maybe you guys can. I'm hoping that you guys can give me some help. Oh, geez. Gannon, dude, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you being here, even if it's only for a few minutes. Work's important. Do what you got to do. Hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. So here's the deal with this other issue that I am currently trying to rectify in my brain. You know, I've worked with Linode for the past couple of years. And then here, relatively recently, they were acquired by Akamai, which is a big content delivery service of some variety. So, and that's fine. You know, they're well within their rights to do that, and I still think that that Linode is a great service. Like, I've got my issues with them, but nothing that matters, right? However, here in June, I think it was June or July, I signed a new contract with them that would cover for the rest of the year. And the problem with that, oh, dude, thank you, Gannon. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate the membership there. Sorry, I'm reading comments, Lewis, and that's kind of what I'm talking about here primarily. You know, like again, like with these Ace Magic and there's a couple others that are all built in the same place. They're great for little mini home servers for just a couple $100. Anyway, going back to the Linode thing, I like Linode and what they do. I think they're a great service. I'm not real thrilled that they here recently jacked their prices up a bit without much notice, like less than 30 days, I think. But that's their prerogative. So I signed this contract that would be X number of videos on my channel, X number of videos on their channel, and X number of ad integrations on my channel between now and the end of the year. And it was supposed to be an X number per month, but I've had a lot going on and haven't been able to meet my obligations so far. So I've got to come up with like 18 video ideas. Now the problem with that is that all of the videos that I make with regards to using the Linode Akamai platform all have to be business related. So you know the fun stuff that I've made videos about, that I love making videos about, that you know that just anybody can install in just a couple of minutes and start using. That's not their target market anymore. Their target market is business clients signing up for business accounts to do business things. And so now I need to come up with like 18 video ideas so that I can make business related content to put on both my channel and Linode's channel. So if you guys have any business related Docker containers that you think would be a good fit, I am all ears. The guy that I'm working with sent me a list that had a few options on there that I will probably do, but I'm going to need a bunch more, and I get this paralysis where I start overthinking things, and then I kind of as I'm overthinking things, I get myself in this loop, and I get like creator paralysis, basically, where I can't come up with any ideas, and even maybe I have come up with ideas, I still my brain doesn't accept that it's a good idea. Lewis Bullock, thank you. Bullock, I did that again, dude. I am so sorry. Lewis Bullock. I thank you for being a member. I do appreciate you for that, and hanging out and that sort of thing. Yeah, so if you guys have got ideas that you think would be a good fit for business-related Docker containers that I can make content about to fulfill my contractual obligation with Linode/Akamai, I'm all ears. I would love to know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Shane says, maybe a tutorial about how to do a high availability 3-node SQL cluster or MariaDB or something. That's kind of a cool idea. I dig that. I don't know how to do that, but I dig that idea. I'm going to open my notepad, and I'm going to bring this up here so it doesn't screw up my color too much here. And I'm just going to copy that just so I don't screw it up. All right. So thank you. I appreciate that, Shane. That's a cool idea. I might even be able to make a couple of videos out of that. Oh man. So that's what's going on with me and the videos and that sort of thing. So yeah, I've just been kind of hanging out. I've been super busy trying to, get the house next door cleaned out, and been helping with cleaning and painting and moving, and then today we got a 12-yard bin that we piled everything in so that it can be hauled away. And it was kind of a weird thing to do. Toner/ink inventory checkout system. Is that a dedicated Docker container, Matt? That's weird. Like I know that there are things like Snipe It that would allow you to create inventory of things like toner or ink or phones or laptops or all kinds of stuff, and that is actually on my list. I kind of agree, JD. I really do. As far as no God printers, no God. So, sorry, that was weird noises all over the place. I actually used to work on premises at Hewlett Packard in Boise 25 years ago or something, 24 years ago. And my job was to test printers for their kind of thing. But let's see. Anyway, the thing about business apps is high availability, and it's almost always for server loads, maybe Apache, Tomcat database, etc. Yeah. That kind of gives me some ideas. The way you kind of worded that. Maybe what I can do is show how to possibly. I'd have to do some digging, but maybe I could do something like, set like you mentioned earlier, Shane, setting up high availability cluster, but maybe more than just like a database cluster. Maybe a Proxmox cluster. Like I've got right there. Let's see. Wonder if that's Trillium. Let's see. Wonder if it's an app similar to Trillium, which I love, that adds multi-user support, a scalable note-taking app. Yeah, that might be an idea. I'll have to take a look at that. Let's see. Let's do that too. JD says, sorry, sysadmin, printers are the worst. I don't disagree with that. I've got a network attached printer, multi-function device over here that was given to me because the people who had it didn't want to buy new ink for it, and I don't blame them. It's crazy that it's cheaper to just buy a printer every 6 months and throw it away, which obviously you should recycle it or whatever, but it blows me away that if you don't do a ton of printing, it's cheaper to buy a new printer with, the 200 page ink cartridges that are in there and then recycle it and go get a new one than it is to buy ink or toner or whatever for a printer. And I know that that's how, like, printer companies, especially like HP, I've got a friend that still works for HP, they take a loss on their hardware because they know that they're going to make it up on their consumables. Printheads, toners, inks, that sort of thing. So they take a loss on the hardware to make it up on the consumables. So, so I agree. Printers are the worst. Keycloak and EGCPA. I'm going to have to look those up. Oh, geez. Let me copy that. And then we're going to talk. Then we're going to talk to Daniel here for just a moment. Dude, here's the thing. I missed the Open Media Vault tutorials as well. However, once they rolled out 6 and then like 6.5 and moving forward, they really, in my opinion, screwed up. Like they took away the easy install, the way it's been for years, a couple of years anyway, with, click here to install Docker, click here to install Portainer, click here to install Yacht. And they kind of did the same thing when they switched from 4 to 5. Because, they used to have all kinds of different backup plugins and Plex and all kinds of stuff that was just like, click, you're done. And now it's like, oh, let's make them go through a bunch more steps unnecessarily so that we can integrate our own Docker container management solution. And I think that they're going to start losing ground as a direct result of that. Like, the way they had it, look, here's the thing. Even if they didn't have Portainer as a one-click install, if they just left Docker as a one-click install, I would be fine with it. But there was so many hoops to jump through. In fact, I made a video about it that really frustrated me that I had to make that video because so many people were confused about like, hey, I just reinstalled OMV, got on the newest version, and your tutorials don't make any sense anymore because none of those things are there. And that's why I made that, what are you doing, Open Media Vault? Like, why are you doing this? I made a whole video on it. And that was really frustrating. So I don't know if Open Media Vault is going to be on my radar much anymore because they don't seem to care as much about the end user. Their documentation was garbage. There was no real press release about, hey, we're making these changes because, like, I don't appreciate what they did there, and it pissed off a lot of people. Agreed. Kubernetes cluster plus. Let's see. I was looking through your videos and you don't see you made a video on Sterling PDF. Okay. Brian, I agree. I have not made a video about Sterling PDF, so I'm going to copy that and add it to my list here. Let's see. Yeah, Rob, I totally agree. RIP OMV5. Absolutely. Like, I really feel like, at least at this point, that Open Media Vault 5 was the pinnacle of their product. When they, like, OMV4 was good for what it was. You know, it had some growing to do, and then Open Media Vault 5 came out, and it was Open Media Vault 5 that helped me learn Docker and Portainer and really started getting my mind wrapped around the concepts of self-hosting and that sort of thing, and how to map container volumes and that sort of thing. And they switched to 6, and it just didn't float my boat anymore. Stephen Holly McCoy says collaboration tools are always popular in corporate environments, alternative to Slack teams, etc. You know, that is an interesting point. I actually made a video, I think, a while back about a chat solution, you know, kind of a collaborative tool there, and yeah, I'm gonna have to take another look at that, and see if maybe we can come up with some community tools for businesses and that sort of thing. So thank you for that, Stephen. I really appreciate that. Screwed it up as right. OMV is OMV. Portainer is Portainer. OMV is trying to be the Synology and force you it tighter in their yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, I love Synology. I really do. I've got a 920 plus right there that was sent to me a few months ago, and it is only being used for my 2 Synology cameras that were sent to me around at the same time. And then I've got a DS1621 XS Plus that's been running rock solid for like 3 years or something. And I love their products, but I use them as the bare bones, and then I install the things I want to install my way. There are some things about Synology as far as their hardware that kind of pisses me off, but you know, that's how they make their money, is they try to lock you into, and I say they, I mean the royal they, that's what companies do, is they try to lock you into, you know, their services with their stuff. It's like Apple. The Apple ecosphere is brilliant, but once you're in, man, you're locked in unless you're really willing to take a lot of time and effort to move out of it. And I hate that mentality, though I also understand that mentality. So, still using OMV is the alternative, easy to use. Paul Solomando, there, you know, it depends on your definition of easy to use and what the alternatives are. You know, there's Unraid, there's a bunch of damn it, the names that just completely slip my mind right now. There are a lot of options out there, and I really feel like, from my experience, that Open Media Vault was the easiest to use. But there are also other solutions out there that have more options, that are more flexible, that allow you to do more things. So it's really trying to find the right tool for the job. So it's really just a matter of preference. And for me, I don't prefer Open Media Vault anymore. I have switched to Proxmox, you know, with my high availability cluster, and I still install Docker on that and deploy all my stuff that way. So yeah, there's that. Yep, JD just kind of reasserting what I said there. Chris says, I love all your videos. It helped me out a lot. Thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate it. I like knowing that the videos that I make are helping people. It's why I have powered through some of my own mental BS to get to a point where, you know, where I'm hopefully I am gaining a bigger audience all the time, and even despite my lack of content output lately, that you guys are still supporting me, and that really does mean a lot to me and my wife and our son, because it gives us some flexibility to deal with our mental health or deal with family emergencies or whatever. And so I love knowing that you guys find my content useful. Rob says, we have Teams in my environment at work. It's just terrible in so many ways. You know, Chris, there's a reason for that. Sorry, not Chris, Rob. The reason is because it's Microsoft. When they bought Skype, they killed it. It seems like every time they get their hands on something, they kill it. And I don't understand why companies tend to do that. Yeah, Daniel, it feels like they're forcing you to do it their way. Absolutely. And that's the corporate mindset that makes home labbing and self-hosting makes so much more sense to me. That's why I got into self-hosting and home labbing and making these videos, is because so many companies, even taking out the telemetry of it, right? Say they never collected a bit of data. They're still forcing you to do things their way. And that doesn't always work. In fact, it only works part of the time, some of the time. And it's super, super frustrating when companies are like, well, you can do things this way, and only this way. All right, dude, go have fun. And I just, and like, let's trash on Apple for a minute. Again, I think they have a brilliant thing. The way that their phones and their tablets and their computers and their laptops all just synchronize with each other. And you can just shoot an app or a thing from one device to another and pick up right where you left off. I think that's brilliant. I love it. But then they do stuff like, well, we're going to remove the head jack, and we're going to be brave for removing the headphone jack. It took them a decade after, and maybe I'm being hyperbolic there, to add widgets to their homepage or allow you to rearrange the order in which your stuff is laid out, and being forced into doing things the explicit way that a company thinks that they want you to do things. I don't like it. It's like I had an iPhone 3 and an iPhone 4G, and it was the last time I've ever owned an iPhone. I've got an iPod Touch that I bought for extraneous reasons that I haven't even turned on in more than a year. But it's why I've been with Android for so long. I've tried so many different phones over the years, and it's like, oh, I can put a widget right here, or I can change the order of things, or I can build out my own pages the way I want them built out. And it's infuriating that Apple is so brave for removing functionality or waiting 5 years after Android's had something to say, look what we invented. No, you didn't. Sit down, shut up, move along. Like, it's frustrating to me. So let's see. Let's see. See, JD says, I know that TrueNAS has its use cases and not for everyone. I can't go back to another NAS when I want to use it. Yeah. I've actually got a NAS over here, a TerraMaster with TrueNAS scale on it. And I made a video about it. I don't know. I feel like the process of creating storage and shares on TrueNAS is a bit more convoluted than I like, and that's, I think, probably because I spent so much time using OpenMedia Vault. I really probably should spend some more time with TrueNAS and Unraid as well. Sorry. JD says Unraid is great if you want easy expansion. I've heard that. It has its fault. NVMe cache recommended. Yeah. So, and I like that you said, especially for Plex metadata. So all of the Linux ISOs that I run through Plex, wink, wink, are stored on one device. Plex is its own separate device. Both of those devices have NVMe caching. So like there are certain shows or whatever that my wife and I watch a lot. And when they get double cached, dude, it is so fast from episode to episode to episode, and I love it. Rob says, so many IT projects I've thought about making or taking on and thought, wonder if DB has to say on, or what DB has to say on this. Dude, if you've ever got questions, hit me up. Leave a comment somewhere. Send me an email. It's david@dbtechreviews.com. Happy to answer those questions. Shane, yeah, 60% of the time it works every time. Right? Yeah, absolutely. If you want better data protection, TrueNAS more hardware heavy, but man, is it great in terms of data protection. I've heard that, and I really feel like I need to spend more time with that solution. Been a subscriber since the Crush and running Linux. Holy crap, Jordan. You've been around for a minute. Yeah, like I haven't touched a Chromebook video in a while. And you know what's funny is those videos are still some of my top performers on a day-to-day basis. With the number of views they get on a day-to-day basis, they very often show up in my top videos of the last 48 hours. So, dude, thank you for hanging out this long, especially after me changing directions of the channel entirely. Thank you, seriously, Jordan, for hanging out. I agree with JD. In all cases, always remember the 3-2-1 rule. I've got the 3-2 rule presently in my place, and I really need to get something off site, and I just haven't done it yet. And I really need to. Let's see who else we got here. Unraid does have redundancy, and I have never had an issue. It's just slower, so I use it as cold storage. That's not a terrible idea. In a previous live stream, we were talking about using a Raspberry Pi for like a NAS device, and I had shown the Eon, that little triangular spaceship looking thing. That I don't even know if it's out here or if it's in the other room. And I was going somewhere. Oh, I was actually thinking about setting that up with, a couple of 10 terabyte drives with Open Media Vault on a Raspberry Pi, and using it specifically for cold storage, and then taking it to a friend's house or something, just so I've got that extra. I've got the one in that 3-2-1 rule. Cyberpunk, hey man, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you being here. Excuse me. Paul, I'm glad that I was able to help you get into Docker. I love Docker. I know I need to start looking into Podman as well. Something I've noticed, and maybe it's just been my experience. People who use Podman, and I'm not trying. This has just been my observation. People who use Podman are very much the same mindset as ASP and ASP.NET developers, in that they are very much up their own ass. And when you ask them questions about, like, why would you do this that way, or why would you do this that way, or what's the benefit of this, their answer is, well, do your own research. If you don't know, I'm not going to waste my time telling you. And that very much goes against the open nature of self-hosting and that sort of thing. And I think it's a crap mindset. So I need to dig into Podman, I think, as well. Daniel, you cursed? I didn't notice that you cursed. Maybe my bot removed it automatically. I don't know. I curse sometimes. I'm probably not going to ever do anything unless you start being belligerent, racist, whatever. So no worries, man. TrueNAS takes a bit to tune. I agree with that. Max RAM recommended, and the faster the better. Yeah, I believe that. Official Mac J says, what is your DB Tech fans website running on? It's Ghost. It's running on Ghost. I actually made a video about Ghost. I wanted a very simple to set up members website that would do all of my billing automatically for me and would handle my memberships for me. Ghost is brilliant for creating a members only website, and it doesn't have to be members only, right? You don't have to do it that way, but if you're trying to make a members website, I recommend looking at Ghost. Now the caveat to that is that you have to set up a Stripe account. You have to kind of play in their arena, which I know is contradictory to what I said about doing things a certain way. However, sometimes you just got to take a punch in the dick and do what works. And that's kind of what I did with Ghost. But I haven't had any issues with Stripe. They take a very small percentage. I get my payments on time all the time. I get emails when there's stuff going on. So it's so easy to use. So let's see. Jordan says, that's how I found you. Dude, thank you again for sticking around for so long. Let's see. Rob Duncan says, are you an all-plex shop for your media? Do you use any of the network music streaming services, like I say with a pie, I currently I am all in on Plex, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is, and we kind of talked about this briefly in a previous live stream, is because they're just easy to use. Plex is so easy to use. Yes, it does require a Plex pass if you want certain things, but I did the same thing with MB, right? Like I paid MB $5 a month to get all of the bells and whistles that were available. Luke Skywalker, dude, if you're here, thanks for the sub, appreciate that. Also, I don't mean to beg, but if you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that would mean a lot to me. I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, so part of it is just user friendliness, and that kind of stuff. But honestly, the other reason is I made a video about PlexAmp last year at some point, I believe, and I reached out and I was like, hey, I really want to make a video about your PlexAmp solution. Would you guys mind giving me like a month of Plex Pass so that I can test out PlexAmp and check it out and make a video about it? And they did, and I made the video and it was great. But I was still using MB at the time. I was just looking for more content at that point. So then MB, I was having issues with MB, as a lot of people have been lately. And I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna take another look at Plex and see if it does what I need it to do. And when I logged into my Plex account online to see like my core account, I had realized at that point that they just gifted me a lifetime Plex Pass. So I kind of shilled for them, but not. My expectation wasn't that if I do this for them, they will give me this free thing. I only asked for a month, and they just comped a lifetime Plex Pass for me. So that's kind of one of the other reasons why I went that way. Also, I don't mind supporting developers for the things that I use on a regular basis. There are caveats to that. But it is, I really like Plex. It's easy to use. I can customize the crap out of it. And it just does what I want it to do. So yes, I am currently at all Plex setup. Dude, Ricardo, thanks for hanging out in Portugal. That's awesome. Rob, absolutely. Don't forget to smush that button for the channel, please. Let's see. Any recommendations for a silent mini PC for some K3S? Not much power needed, but low noise. Honestly, man, I've got, hold on. Oh, Camrui. So Camrui was the other one. If you look here, Camrui mini PC, right? And then of course, specs on the back. Box is very generic. And then we've got Ace Magic mini PC. Specs on the back, very generic. These things are all produced in the same place, boxed in the same place, shipped from the same place. You can pick these up for a couple $100. You can throw a bunch of RAM in there. I say that. You can max out the RAM pretty easily. It is single channel RAM, so that's kind of a bummer. But they come with like 16 gigs of RAM, and they come with like 500 gig NVMe drives. You can throw an additional 2.5-inch drive in there. They've got USB ports, so if you wanted to plug in something external, you could. So if you're looking for something low budget, low power, that'll get the job done, absolutely, I would take a look. Excuse me, this is making me burp. These mini PCs are great. I've got more video reviews of a couple more of these coming. I've also got some more high-powered mini PCs coming as well. One will be here tomorrow, one will be here Friday, that I'm super excited. One of them's got an AMD processor in it. That's like I think it's the 5700U with 8 cores and 16 threads. Also 16 gigs of RAM, 500 gig hard drive. And then I've got another one with an Intel, I think it's an 11500H. Again, 16 gigs of RAM, 500 gig hard drive. Those will be here this week, and I'm super stoked about those. So hopefully, Ricardo, that answers your question. Cyberpunk asks, what fun projects am I working on? That is the conundrum presently. I'm trying to get caught up with my contractual obligations with Linode/Akamai, and that's actually one of the reasons I started this live stream, was to pick the brains of you guys for business related topics. I've got some good paths to go down. As far as stuff that I'm working on internally, it's mostly hardware reviews right now. But I like I mentioned earlier, I'm having a hard time finding a Docker container that I haven't already covered. I may have to. I may go back. I know that Peppermint is a support ticket management system who is in the process of releasing a new update if they haven't already. I will probably revisit Peppermint to make a video about that. So there's definitely some stuff that I'm going to take a look at, but getting my mental health in line was the first step. And now that things are starting to settle down on what's going on behind the scenes, but like on that side of the house, on this side of the camera, whatever, I think that hopefully soon I will be able to start focusing more on some of that stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Been a good experience with the Jellyfin as a home media server. They've got a great apps. So that's I didn't actually know, Shane, the Jellyfin had a Roku app or an app on Roku that would support Jellyfin. That's cool. I know a lot of people are on the Jellyfin train because it's FOSS, free open source software. But it's in from my experience, which is very, very limited, and it's been a while, it wasn't quite as easy user friendly as MB or Plex. So I just haven't used it as much. When your channel shifted course, I shifted course. Now I run Proxmox on an HP Envy with an i7 12700 with Plex and a separate i3 machine to sail the 7. Dude, Jordan, that's amazing. Hell yes, that. Well done, dude. That's great. That's really, really cool. I dig that. Any interest in doing a home security feature with Frigate/Docker and a Google Coral TensorFlow device with a couple of cheapy cameras? Hello from Dublin, Stephen Holmes. Possibly. So I've got several Wise cameras laying around. I've got a couple of V2s, a couple of V3s. I may throw a modified firmware on there and look at Frigate. I've got several little mini PCs laying around, and I think I could probably do something like that, which would be good for my channel. Not necessarily for the Linode stuff, but definitely something worth adding to the list, I think. Let's see. Gloma Killer, dude, thanks for showing up. Appreciate you being here, man. It's good to see a lot of you guys in here again. I can't tell you guys how much it means to see some of the same names on so many of these different live streams. It really does mean a lot to me. And I know that probably sounds placating or whatever, but it really does mean a lot. It really, really does. So thank you guys for being here. Let's see. Steven says +1 for Jellyfin on Roku. Need the shared storage. What about this idea? Share your lab series. I've actually been, we talked about it a little bit again in a previous video about doing, kind of one of those, what am I hosting? Like what's in my rack, what's on my network, those sorts of things. And I really think I should do something like that. Games. Let's see, but yeah, no, I think that's definitely going to come up soon. I just need to decide, honestly, and this sounds dumb, right? Like I need to figure out which camera to use. And the reason I say that, I'm going to hopefully not unplug you guys here. So right there is my overhead cam where like I do, work with me here, dude. So like right there is where I do my product unboxing, reviews, that sort of thing. There's that really yummy adult drink I talked about earlier. And then over here, oh, come on, this camera, dude. Right there is my main shooter, or has been my main shooter with my teleprompter on it, that sort of thing. But I got to figure out which one of those I want to use, just because. Oh darn it! Hold on. Let me bring that back. Nope, wrong way. Wrong way. Let's go that way, and let's go up. Come on up. We're getting there. There we go. All right, and then let's go more that way. Yeah. All right. I think we're gonna get somewhere here real soon. Anyway, there we go. Okay, so I got to figure out what camera to use, which I know sounds stupid, but you know that's how my brain works, and I can only apologize for that a little bit. But I definitely want to do, you know, like what's in my server rack. You know, what am I hosting on all of the crap that's in that server rack? You know, what kind of network do I have up and running, which is an Omada network that I really should make a video about. Let's see. Stephen Holmes from Dublin, Bay Area, California. I'm in the East Bay. Should really be in bed, but hey, dude. So let's see. You guys are like 7, isn't it? Like, where is it? Somebody. Where did it go? Damn it! I lost it. I lost it. Oh, Stephen, isn't it like 1, little after 1, or is it a little after 2? In over there. That is bonkers. But thanks for hanging. Appreciate that, man. And that is a fair point. There is a Dublin, Texas. And you know if there's an RTPS. So I saw a rumor that there was an RTSP firmware for the Wise V3s. And I need to find it. I need to get it so that I can dump it on some of the cameras I've got. Let's see. If I was using a vSAN between the two nodes, would be great, but I do need some VMs that have. Yeah, JD. So that's kind of what I'm doing. You know, I've got my 3-node cluster there that only has, it's got like, it's 32 gigs of eMMC storage on it, and it's got a 128 gig boot USB on it, but all of the actual storage is done via NSF or NFS. Yeah, NFS on my Synology device, and then that gets backed up to a completely separate NAS device. So, and all 3 of those devices, those Zima boards are 1 gig NICs, and they have 2, but I'm only using 1, and I've never had an issue. But of course, my use case is going to be very, very different from yours. Trains with Shane says, "Are you drinking a White Russian?" I am not drinking a White Russian. This is Eggo recently made a drink, the one I'm drinking here, that tastes like Eggo waffles with maple syrup on them. And it tastes exactly like that, and it weirds my brain out, but it's so good. If you haven't tried this yet, and you're of legal drinking age in your area, and it's available, you should check it out. I really dig it. Let's see. What cameras do you use? Here goes another sleepless night. Trying to... let's see. What camera to use? I'm not sure, Ricardo. I'm not sure which cameras we are talking about. So with regards to the RTSP cams, mine would be Wise V2s and V3s. If we're talking about the cameras I'm using now, I've got an Insta360, and then I've got a couple of Panasonics. One's a point and shoot, one's a bit more high tech, but not much. So let's see what else we got here. Dublin though, typical IT. Yeah, Jordan, dude, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. AJ says, hello from down under in Melbourne. I just wanted to say a big thanks for all your videos. I'm 6 months in my home lab journey and keep watching your tutorials. Best way. Dude, thanks. I love hearing that. I really do. Of course, if you've got questions or whatever, obviously leave a comment on whatever video you're looking at. I try to answer all of the comments and that sort of stuff that I can, unless they're pedantic or whatever, and I just ignore those or mute those people. I was close, Stephen. I was real close. I never actually been to Dublin, but I spent about a month in Ireland or in Scotland, 2 weeks, 2 times. Really enjoyed it. Had a friend over there, and I knew that it was like 7 hours ahead of here. 10 past 2 in South Africa. Holy crap. 1 a.m. in Portugal, but no sleep, lots of anxiety in general, so I prefer to be here with you all. Ricardo, I relate to that more than I wish I did, for both of our sake. Anxiety is a real pain. It's a real mood killer. It's rough. And I hope that you're able to get through it and get whatever help you find helpful for yourself. So, Night Owls unite. Absolutely. Looking forward to the World Cup. Sadly, I'm a power user. Do I need to pay the enterprise tax though I use? Yeah, no, I get that, JD. I am really looking forward to, like, and it sucks, man. So many of these mini PCs are still putting 1 gig NICs in there, and I don't understand it. I just don't understand. Put a 2.5 gig NIC in. Like, do give us something more than a gig at this point. They're not that much more expensive. AJ, dude, thank you for the donation. Really do appreciate that. It really does help out a lot. Let's see. Do you have any problems running the database on your 3-node cluster over NSF? I've had problems in the past. So, good question. I have not had any issues. Knock on wood if I had any. Holy crap. Oh, I have wood. I will knock on that. It was a little gnome that I cut out of my laser cutter that's up there. I have not had any issues hosting databases on NFS. I did have to switch from my SQL to Maria databases in order to get it to work correctly. But like, if you look at some of my sites, I'm actually going to pull some of these up. Like, oops, no, let's do it over here. Like this one. That one is on NFS. dbttech.com. Damn it, I always do that. It's because I spelled it wrong. Like this is also hosted on NFS, and they're fast. But here's the thing, right? Like, yes, each of my nodes only has a 1 gig NIC being utilized for everything. My Synology has a 10 gig NIC in it, and even going from my switch that's right here, which is also a TP-Link managed switch, going from there, there's a 10 gig line that goes from there to the front of the house, where I've got another 10 gig switch that hooks up to my PC so that I can transfer files very, very quickly back and forth. So there's not a lot of latency on my network. And again, having the 10 gig NIC in my Synology device really helps out quite a bit as well. So, so yeah, I haven't had any issues. So, let's see. Hello from Warsaw. Holy crap, dude, that's awesome. Thank you for hanging out. I'm really enjoying the live streams as well. It gives me a chance to just kind of chat and hang out and kind of find out what you guys are doing as well. Cause that's, as I've mentioned before, that's where I failed for so long, was not engaging with you guys. Like, you guys are the reason that I'm able to work in this room and I earn my living in this room. You guys are the reason that I'm able to go do the things I have to do and not have to go answer to a 9-to-5 job. So I'm really enjoying doing this because it gives me a chance to connect with you guys on a more personal level than I have before. And it really means a lot to me that you guys hang out with me and BS with me, that sort of thing. So yeah, so thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see. Stephen Holmes says, your Invoice Ninja video revolutionized our home business. So thanks for that, dude. Awesome. I don't have anything else other than to say than that is awesome. I love hearing that kind of stuff. Soldiers 3000 says, please read my comment above. Let me scroll. See if I can, please make a video on how to make a Docker setup on cloud for playing games, and a video on how to make a website also live streaming Docker option. You can set up individual Docker containers for like Minecraft or you can set up individual servers for all kinds of different games, CS:GO and Minecraft and Valheim and Arc and all kinds of stuff, right? Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. But there are also servers like Pterodactyl. or server management systems like Pterodactyl that will allow you to manage multiple servers from one dashboard. And I have tried on a couple of different occasions to get Pterodactyl to work, and it is so convoluted. It's just not very straightforward, and I think I need to spend more time with it. As far as a live streaming Docker option, you've brought that up in past videos, and people have given you options. So I might look into some of those options. Let's see, where else are we here? Had issues with database. Docker containers can get picky about mapped shares on Linux sometimes. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't. So, and here's what may have made my solution easier than what you're dealing with, right? Because all of the websites that I'm using for NFS are being managed through Proxmox, and with Proxmox you can set up a storage solution via NFS so that the Docker container doesn't know the difference. The Docker container just looks at it as local storage, because Proxmox is the hypervisor interface that connects to that NFS share, and I think that might be why I am having an easier time than you might be. So that's just something to consider as well. Changing gears, I'm always defaulting to WordPress, but more and more people seem to be choosing Ghost. Does it have... So Ghost... I love Ghost for strictly for the membership thing, because that's what its primary focus is to create membership websites. That doesn't have... They can be paid, they can be free, they can be whatever. However, WordPress... Like, I was a WordPress front-end developer for a number of years, almost a decade. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it, because there was a plugin that you could change it to do anything you wanted it to do. You could build a membership site, you could build a blog, which of course is what it was by default. You could do so many different things with WordPress. They had a very basic WYSIWYG editor. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It became my passion for so long. But then they switched over to this new editor interface with the blocks and that sort of thing, and I can't think of what it's called now. And any time for a long time, when I would install WordPress, I would immediately install the plugin to disable their garbage new interface, because if I want to have a drag and drop interface, I will use a plugin. I will use Cornerstone, or I will use there's one that I used for a long time that its name escapes me, but I hate that they again try to force their content or their content building solution into the way, and you couldn't disable it without this plugin. I absolutely hated it. So for certain, I used to be just all out WordPress for everything. The same way I was prior to that. I was with Joomla, and then Joomla had a whole slew of issues that made me walk away. But so I switched to WordPress, and I loved it for a really long time. And then they started forcing this new content block builder thing that I hated so much. So now I try not to get too involved in any one particular platform. I try to find a platform that suits the job that I'm trying to fill the need for. So for like if my wiki, that dbt3ch.com that I shared a moment ago, that's on Bookstack. My membership site is on Ghost. My profile page with all my links, that's Linktree. Like, I find a project or I find a solution that fits what I'm trying to do, rather than relying on any one host or any one platform too much. So hopefully, Ricardo, that answers your question a little bit. Yeah, I agree that 1 gigabit only becomes an issue if you expect to get more traffic than 1 gigabit of traffic. So yeah, I get that. I get that. But again, when you're trying to move files, when you're trying to do that sort of thing, a 2.5 gig would be nice. That's any satisfactory player in chat. My IT defaults to automation, so it hits the spot. Docker help in recommending a solution. Yeah, I agree. It's not always the want, but also the why that helps with solutions. You want to play a game using Docker. What? So you want your own intermediate platform? I guess I don't understand why, but maybe I missed something. Docker set up on cloud for playing games and a video on how to make a website. Also, yeah, I'm not sure why you want an intermediate thing there when you could just set up, Streamlabs or OBS and stream it that way. Especially if you're trying to put it in the cloud, it doesn't make sense to have an intermediary there to cause even more latency and more compression on your video stream. I'm just not understanding what the reason for that is. Some ISP throttle uploads heavily on non-business services. Yeah, Shane, I'm not quite there with you, but that was one of the issues that I had with Comcast. I actually just returned my modem to them today, because I had like 1,300 megs down, yay, and I had 35 megs up, and I was just like, what? But I'd had them for 15 years, and fiber wasn't an option until about 2 weeks ago. So I got a symmetrical gig, and my bill's like $40 a month for a symmetrical gig. I can also upgrade to either 5 or 8 gigs symmetrical if I wanted to, but I don't have enough hardware to support that kind of throughput, so it doesn't matter. We'll have a walkthrough on how to set up gluten qubit deluge on the Synology, preferably DSM-6. So, Travis, that's an interesting idea. There are 2 things that I have to say about that. One, I already made that video. I actually made it a series, but it was in Docker, just generic Docker, not on Synology. However, all of the stuff that you're talking about with regards to gluten, qubit, deluge, whatever, I've actually made a video series on all of the R's, sonar, radar, whatever, right? I actually made a video series on how to do that. And what a lot of people may not have realized is I was actually setting that up on my Synology system, and it's excuse me, it is still running to this day. Like from the time I released that video series, I haven't changed anything. Damn it! Give me a second here. Sorry, guys. So I run my updates when I need to update my containers, which then causes some issues. But yeah, all of that whole setting up the Ultimate Media Server video that I released last year, maybe even the year before, was all done on a Synology, and I've updated to the newest DSM, and I've never had an issue with it. Again, knocking on wood and whatnot. I didn't care much about having 1 gig until I tried to edit 4K. Yeah. So what I actually dig about even though my ISP connection is only 1 gig, and that's great, having the 10 gig connection in my PC in the living room, that's kind of where I do all of my editing. Having basically a 10 gig connection from there to the Synology device that's right there means that I can offload my video footage from the computer that I'm using right now straight to there, and then I can edit. Like while I'm sitting in there, I don't even have to move the footage from my Synology over to my computer anymore. I can edit directly on the device, and I don't have any issues, and I friggin' love it. So definitely, in fact, I can probably go find it. Oops, there we go. Give me just a second here. Let me go back to my home page. Find my playlists. It's right there. Holy crap! I've got so many playlists. Here we go. We're gonna copy that link address. So, oh no, not that window. This window. So many windows, man. Glimmer Killer, thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you being here. Let's see. 900 down, 40 up, pay 140. Yeah, that's pretty standard, JD, and I hate that ISPs are doing that disparity. So Travis, hopefully that video series will help get you where you need to be. That should answer a lot of your questions there. There are other solutions now that you can add into that might simplify things a bit. And I can't really make an updated video series of that. without risking my channel. I made a video a couple of years ago about backing up videos using a Docker container, and I got a community guideline strike that risked my channel. So Rob Duncan says, fiber here, 1 gig up, 1 gig down, pay $40 or $70 a month. Same here. It's actually through Quantum Fiber, but due to my medical conditions, I qualify for certain discounts, so I only pay $40. So it worked out pretty well. See, speaking of editing, what is your editing software of choice? Rob Duncan asks. I use Premiere for everything. I've been using it for so long. Let me close this. We're getting some light lead on that. That's something. Anyway, so I've been using Premiere for using Adobe for everything with regarding audio and video. As far as my thumbnails are concerned, I very often will use Canva now. Tom from another creator suggested I try out Canva because I was having a really hard time getting my brain wrapped around engaging thumbnails, and I was told to use Canva, and I agree. Every once in a while, though, I will go back and I'll just do something quick and simple for using Photoshop or whatever. But yeah, Premiere for video, Audition for audio, Photoshop for photos and that sort of thing. Let's see. That's the basics. Travis Rose says, sorry, I'm a Docker noob, so it's confusing for me for anything past the basics. Travis, I wonder if you would do me a favor. And you don't have to. I've got this idea that maybe you can help me out with. If you would send me an email, my email is david@dbtechreviews.com. If you go to my channel and go to the About page, you can find my email address there. That's just as easy. Send me an email with your questions. And I would love to possibly do kind of a Q&A style video or answer some questions. If you guys have got stuff like that, email me, and maybe we can do, a couple of times a month, just kind of like reading fan mail, or answering fan questions or something, and we can just kind of do maybe a video a month or a couple of videos a month answering questions. That might be an idea. Let's see. When are these streams being scheduled? I wish I still had an answer for that. Now, honestly, dude, we just loaded up a 12-yard dumpster today that was kind of the final bit of stuff that we needed to get done. And I think that hopefully starting next week I can start scheduling something. So I apologize, Cyberpunk, that I don't have an answer for that. But I'm going to try to soon. Let's see. Maybe even in response to those questions in your docs websites. Yeah, Daryl, I don't hate that either. I like the idea of maybe doing kind of an FAQ thing on my DB Tech wiki. That might be an idea as well. Let's see what else we got. AJ says, I saw your video on Tailscale, but I don't get how to access individual Docker containers, like something like Fresh RSS using a Fluent Reader Android app. Should I use Tailscale or Cloudflare tunnels? That is up to you. And the reason I say that is this, right? So let's say, okay, if you want to access Fresh RSS on your phone from wherever you've got it hosted, both of those devices are going to have to be attached to the same Tailscale network. Once you have done that, once they're both on the same Tailscale network and you've authorized them, each one of those devices is going to get a Tailscale IP that is only applicable to your Tailscale network. Once both of those devices are on the network and they have their IP addresses, then you can say on your Android phone, put in the IP address of your Docker server, right? Put in the Tailscale IP address of your Docker server, and then tack on the port for Fresh RSS, and that should give you access. Now, if you disconnect either of those devices from the Tailscale network, you won't be able to access it anymore via that Tailscale IP address. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I should do another Tailscale video. We're gonna do a follow-up on that. and I know that some people have requested head scale. I actually messed with that earlier today. I've still got some more poking around with that to do. Daryl Gibbs, yeah, for posterity, I agree. Rob says I've got a dumpster coming September 22nd through the 24th. I felt that. Yeah, dude, we ordered it last week. It got here today. We filled it up in 2 hours flat. And we called them. We're like, hey, you can come get this now. And they're like, yeah, we'll be there Monday. So it's just going to sit out here and people are going to dig through it and it's whatever. But yeah, like it was kind of a cathartic thing to, get it filled and get our driveway cleared out and just get the mess cleaned up finally. So let's see, join the Discord and be notified of the live streams. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I do notify there. I also, so when I do a live stream, if it's an impromptu thing, I blast it out on Discord, but I also jump on Facebook and Twitter and notify there as well. So if you're not part of the Discord, you can follow me on Twitter. The only reason I ever get on Twitter anymore is to blast out live streams and complain. Facebook's kind of the same thing. I don't do much with social media these days outside of YouTube, if I'm being completely honest. Like I've always got a chat window up on Facebook because that's how my wife and our friends, and that's kind of our chat medium that just makes everybody's lives easier. I don't tweet much. I don't post on Facebook much. I started a TikTok recently, but it's not tech related at all. It's me feeding a family of raccoons that comes to our house every night. So if you want to watch me feed 6 raccoons, 4 of them are babies and they're adorable, you can check out my TikTok. In fact, I'll see if I can post a link to that. TikTok.com/man, I'll have to find it. But yeah, like I don't really do social media much anymore unless it's YouTube. Just because it is so frustrating that I talked to my wife about this the other day. The last time I scrolled through my Facebook timeline, like I don't follow, like I've got 125 friends, right? And I follow 50 or 60 different pages that interest me, whether it's businesses or organizations or whatever. And it would show me one thing that I had asked to see, a friend or something I follow. And then it was 8, literally 8 in a row that were like suggested for you. And it was like, dude, I have no interest in any of these topics. And then it would show me one more thing that I was interested in. And then 8 more things that were like, here's something that's suggested for you, over and over and over. And it was always something different, but it was never something I actually cared about. And it was at that point I was just like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not. The platforms don't care about what the user wants to consume. The platform only cares about time on site and engagement. It's the same thing with YouTube. It's the same thing with TikTok. It's the same thing with Twitch. But it's so frustrating that we're not even allowed to see the things we ask to see. And it's just, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So let's see. Do you use any in-home VPN, something you connect back to the house and or out and about? Rob, I absolutely do. I use Cloudflare tunnels for everything. It's the most basic reason, and it's because I don't want to deal with port forwarding. I don't want to have any open ports on my network. So I just don't. I use Cloudflare tunnels for everything, and yes, there are some hiccups for that. But I've just learned to work around it, right? Like I just, like my father-in-law had his computer crash out on him a few months ago. So I sent him the predecessor to this one. That's where that one went. And then I got there a couple of months later in like early August, and he hadn't set it up yet. So I set it up. I backed up all of his files and folders and everything off of his computer, put it on a hard drive. I brought an external hard drive with me just because I knew I was going to need to. Backed up all of his stuff, got him set up on this new computer, and then a week ago, I guess, he got infected with some sort of virus malware thing, and he didn't have any backups of any of his stuff. And so my brother-in-law reached out to me and was like, "Hey, this happened. How do I fix it? What do I do?" And I was like, "Well, luckily for you, I still have a backup of your dad's computer." So I used PicoShare, but then realized that Cloudflare was limiting each of my file uploads to 100 megs. So I had to split it into like 75 meg chunks and uploaded 23 files or something and sent them over, got it sorted. So that is one of the downsides to using Cloudflare tunnels, is that there is a 100 megabyte share or file limit. But I so rarely have to do stuff like that it doesn't affect me enough to change my mind on how I access my stuff remotely. Shane, dude, thanks for hanging out, man. I really do appreciate you being here regularly. It really does mean a lot to me. Yeah, dude, I think JD is like, as a troll, you mean X, not Twitter. Yeah, go look through their TOS. You'll be surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised, at how many times Twitter is still in their TOS. They've been real lazy about making the full transition. JD says, love the raccoon feed. Dude, thank you. I try to upload a video almost every night. Really enjoy it. They're a lot of fun. There's only been one person who's been trying to talk trash. It's like, you should never pet an animal while they're eating. Like, I've been doing it for 42 years, dude. Chill. So he's like, well, it's just like a pit bull. It only takes one. Go away. That's basically all I had to say. It was like, nobody cares about your opinion here. I'm well aware of the risks. It's fine. Take care of a few things. Dude, and Shane, thank you for the idea, for sending me an email. Really do appreciate that. What else? 1/3 top tip for Tailscale. If you have a domain of your own, you can set up subdomains on Cloudflare for that domain and make A records pointing to the reverse proxy in your home. Wow, that's really cool, Daryl. However, we got 1 of 3 and 3 of 3. I don't know where 2 of 3 went. Maybe it was just a mistype. And have it resolve the right IP. That's a cool idea. I dig that. I may have to look at that. It didn't ask me, but I use Wireshark for private services, Proxmox. Yeah. I do. I basically do the same thing, JD, with Cloudflare tunnels. However, I've got those services, like my internal stuff, that I don't want anyone to have access to, with multi-factor authentication. Between restricted IPs and using Cloudflare Warp as another option there. You can also use hardware keys and all kinds of stuff. So I lock all of that stuff down so that it can't be accessed unless it's one of 2 explicit IP addresses. The one for my home, and then I've got a dedicated IP through my VPN provider that I use when I'm out and about. I use private internet access. Been using private internet access for years. And I haven't paid for it in like 2 years because people keep using my referral link, and then when they sign up, I get a free month. So digging that. But I take that back. I pay a few bucks a year, 20 or 30 bucks a year for a dedicated IP, and I just put that IP in my allow list, and then I can access whatever I want pretty easily. To do the same with port forwarding for me, and sketchy free Wi-Fi. I use Arista formerly. Okay, that's cool. I dig that. Some of the new ransomware is nasty. It keeps persistent in the BIOS even after deep wipe. Yeah, Travis, I've actually seen that. I'm hoping that that's not the case. If it is, then I'll just send him another one, and he can send that one back, and I'll dick with it later. But let's see. Talks trash about Trash Panda. Yeah, right? Like, what is this dude even doing there? It probably just showed up in his For You page and whatever, but it is what it is. Brainfart WireGuard. Wireshark is an entirely different thing. It is. That's a network monitoring solution, but we knew what you meant. Nextcloud versus OwnCloud. Which do you prefer? Neither. I hate them both. I hate them all. That's not fair. I feel like it's those services, the OwnCloud, Nextcloud, are trying to be everything to everyone all of the time. And they have so much extra stuff in there that people don't use. And the idea of having all of that stuff, plus all of the different plugins they have, if you don't have a good backup solution and something goes wrong, it's catastrophic, and I speak from experience on this. So I don't use any of that. I host everything internally. I make it available where it needs to be available, so that I can access it or somebody else can access it on a case by case basis. But yeah, I don't use any of the Nextcloud, OwnCloud. I won't touch it. Rob asks, do you use any cloud storage services? I do. I take that back. Well, okay. Technically speaking, yes, I do. I have Google Drive because I still use an Android, and certain things I back up when I need to do a quick file transfer or whatever. I've got a Dropbox account, but that's only so that I can more easily load scripts over to my teleprompter. It uses Dropbox for that. It uses a few other services, but I've been using Dropbox off and on for so long. That's the one I went with, just to load scripts onto my teleprompter. So that's what I use that for. Let's see. Spectacular Austin says, I also use PIA, paid 3 years for $80. Oh, because you got an extra 180. That's cool. Yeah. Big fan of PIA. Been using it for years. Love it. Answers my question. Cool. Glad I was able to answer your question. What's the best self-hosted media server? It's going to depend on who you ask. There's a lot of people who are loving Jellyfin right now. There are apps apparently on Roku that you can use. I used MB for a long time, but I have since switched back to Plex. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. You may not have been here, and that's perfectly fine, because it's super easy to use and customize, but also because Plex gave me a comped Plex pass, because I made a video about their PlexAmp solution a while back, and they just gave me a comped Plex pass, and I appreciate them for that. Let's see. Knew about Amazon S3 was for years, but today I found out how cheap and good it is. Right? Yeah. Same thing, Austin. I was talking, I think, with Jeff Geerling a month or two ago about a storage solution, like to implement a 3-2-1 solution, like we were talking about earlier as well. And he uses their deep freeze or deep storage or whatever it's called. And he stores terabytes of data for like pennies, basically. There are restrictions to that as far as how long it will take to recover your data, because it's got to be brought out of deep freeze, basically. But dude, S3 is great if you want an offsite cheap solution. Real cool solution there. Travis Rhodes says, I'm the same way. I don't host anything anywhere but on my own server. One of the best things I did was set up Bitwarden and Docker. Have a separate instance for each family member. Dude, I love that. I that's great. My wife and I share an instance, but after all of the LastPass shenanigans over the last couple of years, my wife, and in fact I was too for a long time, we were both people that used the same password on everything. And finally I was like, I got to quit doing that. Yeah, Amazon Glacier. Thank you, Cyberpunk. So I was like, I got to quit doing that. So I started using LastPass. It was great for years. And then I convinced my wife to start using LastPass, so she would quit using the same password for everything. And then shortly thereafter, they got hacked. And then shortly thereafter, they're like, you can use LastPass for free on one device, but only one device. If you want more devices, you got to start paying us more. I was like, well, then I'm out. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, after all of the issues that you've had, I am not giving you money to possibly have my data leaked. So yeah, I started hosting Bitwarden and then switched to VaultWarden. They're the same thing under a different name. I know that's technically a misnomer, but just go with it. But also, my wife was having issues with LastPass doing the things that it was supposed to do. So we switched to VaultWarden, Bitwarden, and it hasn't been an issue since. She has actually commented several times on how much she loves the self-hosted version of the password manager versus LastPass or one of those others. And so we just share an instance, and it's great. It gets backed up every night, so if anything happens, there's a good likelihood that we won't lose any data. So yep, Plex is still the best and most versatile, but Jellyfin is free and getting better all the time. That's what I've heard. I just haven't looked at Jellyfin just because I take that back. I haven't looked at Jellyfin in a long time because the last time I looked at it, it wasn't great. MB was far superior at the time, and I haven't looked back since, and maybe I should. Let's see. David On says, your videos inspired and helped me set up my first home server last year. Can't imagine my life without it now. Thanks for the great content. Thanks for watching, dude. Seriously, thanks for watching. Thanks for that. I really do appreciate it. It really means a lot to hear you guys tell me this stuff. Because I don't. Oh, okay. Self-hosting has been kind of a passion of mine for a long time, and with all of the stuff that's been happening over the last couple of months, my mental health and whatnot, I've kind of dipped out of it, but I'm trying to get back into it. You know, like you guys have helped me come up with several different ideas for some new content, and I'm hoping that I can kind of re-engage my brain to regain that same level of passion that I had for so long. Let's see. Trying to host files, audio and video. Already using paperless PDFs, but Nextcloud has all these features I don't need. I just want to host and view them. Know anything other than Nextcloud, OCloud. It really, I mean, Austin, it really, just trying to host files, audio and video. Plex? I mean, honestly, I don't know. You might just use, you know, like something like FileCloud. I'm not a big fan of FileCloud. I actually made a video about that last year. But there are other services like FileCloud that aren't so restrictive that might work for you pretty well also. Deep freeze equals someone in the dungeon pulling your data off the LTO. That sounds about right. David Week says, thanks for the videos you do. I set up my first server and backup server this year. Dude, that's amazing. I love hearing that. That's really cool. I remember when I first started trying out Proxmox. I think it was James Collins in my Discord. He's also a mod admin over there. Kind of gave me the push I needed, and then I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And he's like, "Now here, go set up a backup server." And that was the easiest thing I think I've ever done. Setting up a backup server for Proxmox was probably the easiest thing I've ever done. And the backup process, the restoration process is so simple. I love it. I can't imagine not using a solution like this at this point. Let's see. Stephen Holmes, dude, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. OMV6, is there a Docker that can move files on the same server with ease rather than creating a job sync and rsync like that? Something on the fly like a copy and paste. Is there a Docker that can move files on the same server with ease? I think I'm going to need more information, Rob, about your question there. Daryl Gibbs says your Docker app reviews and walkthroughs are great, very objected. I think you mean objective. That's fine. And to the point, I try. I do. I really do try. I try to strike this balance, and it's really, really difficult for me because I like to talk, and I like to talk fast. I take that back. I don't like to talk fast. I just do it naturally. And so it's trying to find. It's why I started scripting my videos here recently, was because I would ramble on for too long. So I've had to change some stuff, but I try to be objective. I try to say, here's how it is. Here are my thoughts on it, and then of course I ask for your guys' comments. And I know a lot of people don't like to leave comments, and I get it. But yeah, I try to be as objective as possible. So, has a Docker image is compatible with basically everything. Cyberpunk. Wait. Cyberpunk, are you saying that Amazon Glacier has a Docker app? Is that what I'm saying? Months. So Austin, you've got a couple of options with regards to your backup stuff. You could use something, man, let me go find it. Backup. Show all. Duplicati. Duplicati is a good option for backups. Oh, same thing. Okay, thanks for clarifying, Cyberpunk. Appreciate that. I guess I missed something up there. Anyway, so you could use something like like Duplicati to back up the data, because obviously you're not going to actually back up the containers. I've made a couple of videos on Duplicati, how to set up Duplicati, how to back up the data in your individual containers, and then I made a follow-up video on how to restore that data, and that's one good option on how to do that. So I've already made those videos, and I don't think much has changed there. However, it is still kind of a pain in the butt. It's not nearly as user-friendly as I would like it to be, and that's why I switched to Proxmox, is because it is as easy as I want it to be. It's so easy to set up a Proxmox server, Proxmox backup server, connect the two, do nightly backups, do restorations when you need to. That's how I've gone. That's how a lot of people in the community have gone, and I just love it. Let's see. All right, let's see. Maybe make a good video. Easily back. Yeah, like I said, I already made that video. Found out about self-hosting from Network Chuck. Used to love hosting things in the cloud and still do. But your Docker videos are, dude. Thanks for telling me that, Austin. I really do appreciate that. Network Chuck is a huge wealth of knowledge. But we like, whether it's me or him or Christian Lampa, like we all do things a little bit differently, and that's what's so cool about self-hosting, is that you can do things differently and still get the same end result, and that's what I love about it. Official Mike J says, I heard the NPM is bugged to the point where your exposed services could be compromised or broken into. So I haven't heard anything about that specifically, but give me a second here. So Nginx Proxy Manager is also known as NPM, which sucks because as a front-end web developer, or when I was a front-end web developer, NPM used to be Node Package Manager. So that was kind of an adjustment for me. But one of the issues that I started having with them 11 months ago, I think, is that when you were to go through and set up your domains and then pull a Let's Encrypt SSL, there was a bug when it would try to check for the domain. And there was all these different workarounds that you had to use in order to get things to work. And I created a ticket about it, or an issue, I guess, on Nginx Proxy Manager's GitHub page, and I've had several people validate my claims, and it doesn't seem that the developer is going to fix it. It's been almost a year now, if not more than a year, and nothing has changed. So I personally can't recommend Nginx Proxy Manager anymore, even though I loved how easy it was to use. I'd used Traffic as well. I hate Traffic. Look, it's good for what it does. It's good for certain applications, certain setups, that sort of thing. But the labels and all of the stuff to make it work just frustrated me, and I hated it. So, should we wait for more Cloudflare vids? You're the reason I started using them. All your briefs. Pentelis, I hope I got that right. Specifically, what kind of stuff are you asking about with regards to Cloudflare? Because I'm definitely interested in making more Cloudflare videos. If you've got specific things that you want to know more about. But if you want to use local S3, you can use Minio. I may check that out. That's kind of a cool idea. Christian made a video recently about the NPM vulnerabilities. I think if you're using Nginx Proxy Manager, go look at Christian's video. Absolutely. Pick your YouTuber of choice, and you can learn from the easiest. I just have to be watching the live one. Learn the best. I know. Cool. No, I'm glad that I'm glad that I can help people, Rob. I really do appreciate you saying that. I really do. Daryl says, I'm starting to use Caddy as reverse proxy, but it's all CLI. Yeah, and I think it's important to know how to do CLI stuff for deploying and managing things, but I'm very often lazy and I want a GUI. I want a graphical user interface, and I don't like when reverse proxies or whatever only give you the GUI option. And we talked about this a little bit in a previous stream about the difference between a front-end developer and a back-end developer, in that they are very different mindsets. So I think a lot of people will build the back-end like Caddy, like HA Proxy. I think HA Proxy is still only GUI. or only command line rather, and oftentimes somebody else will later come in and fork that project and then add a GUI to it. And I love it when people do that. But again, front end and back end developers are very different mindsets, and it makes it difficult to get both of those things right and working well and interfacing well with each other. I run my containers through Proxmox Ubuntu. You helped me get my first and second Elite desk. I have a Raspberry Pi collecting dust. Oh, you paid, oh, that sucks, dude. $270 for a Raspberry Pi. Dude, I get it. Honestly, that's why I quit making Raspberry Pi videos for the most part. It's why I made at least 1 or 2 videos about repurposing old hardware to get into home labbing and that sort of thing. Because for less money than a Raspberry Pi, you can buy, a 4th or even a 7th gen Intel. Maybe it's an i5, but it's going to be more powerful and more compatible for hosting than a Raspberry Pi ever will be, for way less money and way more flexible. So, yeah. Any way to run Proxmox backup on an RPI or cheap servers just for backups? I mean, I've got a VM with a Proxmox backup server running on it, and that's my Proxmox server backs up to the backups, the virtualized backup server. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. Let's see. Stop using it in general. I'm not a fan of either reading some of the other Reddit comments. That's how I found out about the bug that's affecting NPM's encryption to your domain name. Yeah, I agree, Mike. I can't recommend NPM anymore to anybody for lots of reasons. Cyberpunk says I use HA proxy with Certbot and set it up with Ansible for local SSL, but it can be exposed to the internet. But you use WireGuard. That's a good call. That's a really good call. GUI preference is fair. Yep. Timmy McSkinny says, thank you for the hard work you put into your videos. You've helped me a lot. I'm honestly, man, I'm glad that my videos are helpful. I really do appreciate hearing that. So let's see. Enrico says, I have a question about Cloudflare also. I was following your tutorial to get certificates for Home Assistant, but when I change it from full to strict, I can't access it anymore. Any idea why? Sort of. I believe in order to get strict to work, you can't have it in bypass mode. I think it has to be. I haven't actually even used A records or anything deliberately in Cloudflare in a long time, but I think you have to force it to not bypass the Cloudflare DNS, and I think that might be your issue. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that, but that's the first thing in my brain. HA proxy is nice because it's built into pfSense on a Docker and only needs one config file. That's really cool. I'm not much into pfSense and firewalls and that sort of stuff. Tom Lawrence Systems, he's your dude for that. He is so good about explaining things. Just to be clear, for your self-hosting and file sharing, you use a VPN tunnel. Some people do because they don't necessarily want their containers or their services or whatever to be accessible to everybody. So they will make it so that they can only be accessed via a WireGuard VPN tunnel, or Tailscale or any of those other type. I had another one in my brain and I lost it. But because so many of my services are public facing, and most of them are actually for you guys, I use Cloudflare tunnels to give remote access to my stuff. And Cloudflare handles all of it. Even my internal stuff gets handled through Cloudflare tunnels, but then I restrict access via some other restriction, whether it's IP restriction, Cloudflare warp restriction, hardware restriction. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that in order to gain access. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. It's just all about preference. Oh, kitten, come here. I know, buddy, come here. One of our cats is coming in to say, come here, dude. Come here, noobs. Come here. All right, you can go be a wiener. His name is Anubis, and he's a big old wiener. He will only let me and my wife pet him. Our friends that have been coming over since before he was born aren't allowed to pet him, and it's not that we've said no; it's that he has said no. And none of our other cats are like that. but he is very much like that. Let's see. I've been buying a Lenovo i5s from Amazon for a multitude of projects. They work well, around $100. That's cool. I actually bought a couple of HPs. I bought one from Amazon, but then I found out I could get them so much cheaper on eBay that I just went that way. Let's see. So David Weeks asked, do you do anything with Home Assistant? I don't. And the reason that I don't is because that, and I'm going to get kind of dark and gloomy here for a second. Please bear with me. I'm fine. I had a medical condition that, it's an autoimmune condition that attacked my heart, kidneys, lungs, and brain. I've got kidney disease. I still have both of my kidneys, but both of them working together only works about 50%, like just enough that I don't need dialysis. Currently my condition, which is called Wegener's granulomatosis with polyangiitis, they've actually removed Wegener's name from it because apparently he was a Nazi or something. So now it's just called granulomatosis with polyangiitis, or GPA. It is currently in remission, which is great. However, if I get a flare-up, it could attack, again, my heart, my kidneys, my lungs. Actually, I take it back. It also affected my sinuses a bit, but not nearly as much as some people. So in the off chance that this GPA kills me, I'd still like my wife to be able to do the stuff with the house. So I don't do anything with Home Assistant as much as I would like to. But also I use Google for everything, so I can say, hey, so-and-so, do the thing I want you to do, and it just works. And even like we've got friends that come over that will tell the assistant to turn certain lights on and off. My son has autism and has therapy in home a couple of days a week, and even his therapists use the assistant in the house to turn things on and off. And I just don't want to mess with it, so I haven't done much with Home Assistant. Austin says, so you have a VM and a Proxmox, which runs Proxmox backup and backs up the Proxmox. Yep, that is correct. That is so, well, sort of. So Proxmox, I've got these 3 Proxmox nodes that are high availability. So if one goes down, the other picks it up. It's never happened, but it could. And then on my Synology device, I'm running a VM that is Proxmox backup. And that's what that VM does. It just backs that up. So yeah, I've got my Proxmox cluster that does its thing and backs up to a Proxmox backup server that resides in a VM. And then from there, I'm using another NAS device to back up my backups as well as all of my other data. But it's all in that rack, and I need to get something off-site. But yeah, basically what you said is correct. I haven't. Sorry, my phone. Fernando, dude, from Brazil. Thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you being here. Yep, official Mag J. Aw, kitty. Yeah, we've got a few. I'm not going to say any more than a few. But our neighbor friend who passed away also had 3, and we kept one of them. It's actually the kitty that was just in here. His name is Anubis. His sister lived next door. They were obviously from the same litter. And when we finally found her a week later, we brought her home, and she's very much like him. Only my wife and I can pet her. They're real strange. Their mom is not like that. Their mom literally goes to every house in the neighborhood to get treats. Everybody in our neighborhood knows who she is. Expects her to come over when they get home to get treats. She follows the mail lady around the block, and they just hang out. So yeah. Soldiers, do you know of any free VPN? There are a bunch of them, but I don't recommend any of them. Nothing is free. If the service you're using is free, then you are the product. And they are collecting data about you. They're selling data about you. They're monetizing you. So I would not for any reason use a free VPN. Also use HA proxy on Acme and pfSense works really well. Thank you. I've been getting hung up on the file size limit. Yeah, that's unfortunately one of the issues with Cloudflare tunnels is that it does restrict you to 100 megs per file. It sucks, but that's just the nature of the beast. and you just have to make concessions sometimes or figure out a different way to do it. JD says Cloudflare is the best. Love their tunnels. Also, to get Authentic fully set up and working with all of my services. I tried Authentic and I didn't like. It was such a pain in the butt to set up. I didn't like it. But again, that's my brain, and obviously JD, you do all kinds of crazy stuff behind the scenes that I don't do. So, Official Mike J says, have you done a rack tour? I have, but it's been a while. It's actually on my list of videos to do. Benjavitas, turn your speakers up. I actually did a sound check earlier, and everybody else said it was good. So there you go on that. Travis Rhodes says, I just used the built-in open VPN server on my Synology to access my homeland. I'd actually thought about that for a while, but again, I have this. There's this thing about using a service like that. And I love Synology. They're an awesome company. I love working with them. They've sent me a couple of NASAs. They've sent me cameras. I don't know. I like to separate things as much as I can when I can. Have you tried Easy Panel? It looks very interesting. I don't disagree with that. Craig in my Discord the other day brought that to our attention. In fact, somebody on Linode/Akamai made a video about it, released it today. So I'll probably check that out. It looks pretty neat. I agree with that. JD says, in reference to my Home Assistant comment and that me possibly kicking off at some point, says they calls that the bus book. And that's the instruction manual for the spouse. I should probably do that, but let's see. I've heard stories of switching to a carnivore diet can sometimes help with certain autoimmune. Yeah, it won't with me. I've talked to my dietitian. I've talked to all of my ologists. I have a cardiologist and a rheumatologist, and one for my kidneys, and one for my heart, and one for my brain, and one for my lungs, and one for my and I actually have to not eat a lot of meat because of my heart condition. So I look, that didn't stop me from having a badass burger last night, but I kind of do a what's called a flexitarian diet. I eat meat sometimes, just it isn't my primary source of protein or anything. It's just something I use to treat myself every once in a while. So Official Mike J says you always have to back up the backup of backups. That's not, you are absolutely right. Yeah, also free VPN is a scam. Do not use them. Yep. I'm kind of new to the Linux environment, but I've been stressing some old equipment I have left over here. I followed some tutorials you posted on how to get Casa OS running on a netbook, and I'm loving it. Dude, that's awesome. About every 6 months, I do a video on Casa OS just to see how far it's come. I discovered Casa OS early on, and honestly, it was because of the look, the aesthetic of it. Looked so clean. I loved it, and they've come a long way since their start. They had a solution in place that I loved, where you could, let's say you built a container, you could export like a JSON file basically, and send that to somebody, and then they could import your JSON file and have the same setup, not the same data obviously, but they could deploy your setup very easily. And they took that away, and I don't know why. Anyway, I will probably make another video on it. They are sending me so Casa OS is also the same guys behind the Zima boards, and they've got 2 new devices coming out. One of them is the Zima Blade, which is a much smaller device. They've also got a Zima Cube or something that they're still working on, but hopefully sometime here in the near future they'll be sending me a Zima Blade, and I will take another look at Casa OS at that point. Been itching to see a Techno Tim do another dude. Techno Tim's server rack is awesome. In fact, when he did his last server rack thing, where he rebuilt his rack in that climate controlled environment, that's how I found out about the guys where I got my server rack. I reached out to him and we worked a deal out. I paid for the rack up front, and we talked about, well, maybe if we like your video, we'll reimburse that. And I think I was transparent in my video about that, but they ended up refunding my entire purchase price once they saw my video. I love these racks. They're super easy to put together. They've got a fan on, well, mine has a fan on the top. I can also put one on the bottom, but I've got a UPS down there that would block all the airflow. So it pulls air in from the front. There's grills on either side of this, and it pulls fresh air in from the front, and it does a really good job. FreeBN is better than nothing, but if you have a credit card and some time, you can spin your own VPN on tiers. Yeah, like I agree, Tanmay. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, or you could spin up a WireGuard VPN on your own system as long as you can do port forwarding. So there's some options there. I agree. More of it, understanding the concept. If I do that, it helps me get paid more. Yeah, I agree. And that's that. I kind of get that mentality as well. I really do. For the person looking for a free VPN, tell them to set up a Pi VPN in an Oracle free tier. Dude, there's your solution. Thank you, Jordan. That's amazing. Record audio, and after it's done, save it into a container and not start download on the computer. Any self-hosted project that allows me to record audio. I don't know of any, but there might be. But you'd have to pass. I guess it depends on how you're trying to record your audio, because in order for that to work, you're going to have to pass a device through, whether it's a USB mic or whatever. You're going to have to pass a device through to that container. Again, depending on how you're trying to record your audio, but we don't have enough data on how to do that. So I agree. And JD, I'm sorry to hear about your wife being diagnosed. It's life-changing news, depending on what it is and how severe it is, that sort of thing. And like you said, that's a case-by-case basis. So I wish her all the best. I hope you guys are able to tackle that together as a team and find a solution that helps put her into remission. What's the best reason to get Plex Pass other than offline videos? Transcoding. That would be my go-to response there, is for the transcoding aspect of it. And maybe I'm thinking of MB, but I also think that in order for Plex to use transcoding hardware, you need a Plex Pass. What's your UPS backup or your UPS solution? It's a trip light. Couldn't tell you much beyond that. I probably could. I just don't have the intro. I don't have the. Sorry, I was reading as I said that. I don't have the specs in front of me, but it's a trip light, and it lets me power this entire rack for like 30 minutes or something. So yeah. Did a lot of research about B-Link. Skip intros is nice. I didn't realize that was a paid thing only. I agree. Skip intros and skip credits. Dig the hell out of that. Port forwarding on home ISP gets tricky if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, I agreed. So you followed Level 1 Tech. Dude, Wendell's a genius. He is so good at what he does. With ports knocking setups. Yeah. Port forwarding can definitely be an involved process. Depending on like your ISP, the modem, then if you introduce another, so like I've always used the ISP modem because you have to, but then I always just plug in my network solution into that. So then I have to forward from the ISP modem to my network solution, and then from the network solution that I've got in place to wherever it's got to go, and it works. It adds a little bit of latency. But again, I've just decided to go against you doing any port forwarding and using Cloudflare tunnels. Again, I know it's not a perfect solution for everybody, but if you're not able to port forward and you're behind like a CGNAT or something like that, then yeah, I would recommend Cloudflare tunnels for something like that. Yep, SD. I'd actually thought about saying that earlier and skipped it. Yeah, Plex tends to have sales on lifetime Plex passes around Black Friday. You can usually pick one up for like $80 to $100, and it's a lifetime pass. And I would recommend doing that. Have you used NFC cards before? I have not, but I've thought about it. I actually, for a long time, I wanted to get an NFC ring, but I've never done that either. Their email spam. Let's see. Really wish Plex would focus on features that users want instead of all the media deals they seem to be doing. Yeah, I agree. I turned all of that stuff off. Whenever I set up like my TV in the bedroom, I immediately go in and unpin all of the garbage I don't want. I pin like the 5 libraries I want, and then I don't have to look at their garbage anymore. So that's how I set my stuff up. Yep, Cyberpunk says Tailscale and Zero Tier. That was the one I was trying to think of earlier. Are also good for CGNet ISPs. Yeah, absolutely. Fernando says, anyway, coming from the Windows environment, I'm always impressed with the ability of Linux to survive on old equipment. I couldn't agree more. When I first started doing these videos, I was using an AMD FX 8350 with 16 gigs of RAM, and it was such a power hungry setup, but I needed to create content, so that's what I used. That's what I had. But yeah, like I've got, like all of these mini PCs, they come with, they come with like 4 cores, 4 threads, 16 gigs of RAM, 500 gigs of hard drive space, and that's all fine. The problem is that those 4 cores and 4 threads are efficiency cores most of the time, and that's how they get their, their 6 or 10 watt TDPs to make them super power, not power hungry. So using Windows on them, I don't advise it. So I would, like, all of these should have a Linux OS on them, in my opinion. In fact, Ace Magic sent me a laptop recently that I'm actually pretty impressed with for lots of reasons. I'm going to do a video on that here soon. But to be able to have, a very thin device that you can just throw on a bookshelf and plug, your power and your Ethernet into, and have it just not even be noticeable, I think is something that I'm going to focus a lot of that video on after I get the initial specs and all that sort of stuff out of the way. Love an ice rack tour. Who doesn't? It's funny. I've got, you can't see it, but up right there on top of that shelf, I've got a Cricut and one of those vinyl cutting art decorative things. And I thought about making some stickers about, show me your rack or something to start selling, but I just haven't done it yet. But Spectacular Austin says, how did you get Plex on your TV? Well, there's a few different ways you can do that. The TVs we have in the bedroom are both Roku TVs that have a Plex app already installed on them. Sorry, there it is. We've got a Vizio TV that's 10 years old now, that also had apps on it that you could install. You can get plug-in Roku devices. You can use Xboxes or PS4s or 5s or whatever they're on now. Lots of different ways to be able to access Plex on your TV pretty easily. Linux is king of everything except desktop land. That's where Microsoft is headed. I mostly agree with you on that, Tanmay. There are some really, really great Linux desktop ISOs. There really are. Now, there are some caveats to that. Like, I haven't switched to that yet because Adobe doesn't support it and never will. I know that there are Linux-specific editors, but I don't like them as well. And that's only because I've been using Adobe products for so long. I just don't want to, I'm an old dog and I don't want to learn new tricks. Yeah, Spectacular Austin, any smart device, aka Apple, Roku, you just download the app for it. 100% correct. I have an 09 Mac and put Linux Mint on it. The kids use it. They're learning Linux and they don't even realize it. That's brilliant, Rob. I love that. Let me know the TV and the smart device you use. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff out there these days. Also, here's something I would recommend. If you're going to use a Roku device specifically, and I'm only speaking from my experience here, I would advise setting up a network ad blocker, AdGuard, Pi-hole. I would set something like that up because I think it's this one that I want. Sorry, I'm trying to look something up here. Yeah, DB Tech. So like in the last 30 days, Roku has pinged home, has called home back to scribe.logs.roku.com 102,000 times in the last 30 days. Plex has called back 14,000 times. So Yeah, so I would definitely consider putting up AdGuard or Pi-hole, whichever your preference is, so that you're not sending all of your telemetry data back to them. Let's see. DaVinci Resolve works like butter. I have looked at Resolve. Um, I have, and I kind of dug it. I did. Um, but I've been on Adobe for so long that like my key mappings weren't the same. My export, the different buttons I used, the different keys I used to do different things weren't the same, and I hate it. So one of these days, I'd like to say that I will get over it, but I probably won't. Who am I kidding? I can stumble my way through CLI, but it's hard to find that much free time. Much prefer a GUI. Yeah, Travis, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. But I make myself periodically use command line just so I stay in good practice. Just because there may be a time when I'm not going to have a GUI to do something. So I try to keep in practice that way. Rob Duncan says, thoughts on smart speakers? Yeah, I use them. I actually have the little Google Home pucks. I've got one in here, one in the living room, one in the bedroom. I thought about putting one in the kitchen as well, but that's only so that I can network them all together and play music throughout the entire house. So I thought about grabbing a couple more just for that. I put Pi-hole in my network a few years back. Best idea ever. 100% agree with that. Right, yeah, Travis says he had issues with Pi-hole making certain websites essentially not load properly on mobile devices, so you shut it down. Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Happy Wife, Happy Life there, because when I put AdGuard on the network, my wife got mad that Facebook ads weren't showing up anymore. So I changed her DNS to use Cloudflare DNS so that she can get the Facebook ads. So there's that. Pi-hole plus Unbound. Yeah, I dig that. As much as I like Linux Mint and its GUI, I do find myself using CLI more often for its more powerful features and ease. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I've actually been a big fan of Garuda Linux, just because of the user interface. I really dig the aesthetic of it. Vote for the playing music in all the house, make doing chores easier. Yeah, 100%. I absolutely agree. Business Technology said, I just joined. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. Reading the chat, it looks like video editing is the topic, only for the last couple of minutes. Travis says he didn't think of that. Yeah, dude, you can make speaker groups and play music through those. I love it. Matches, I apologize if I screwed that up. It says Pi-hole plus Stubby plus next DNS. I'm gonna make a note of that because that may be a video idea. So I'm gonna add that to the list. Yeah, I set my wife's Pi-hole to a whitelist on the yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Do you notice on my network smart bulbs we're calling home to China hundreds of times each day? So I have I've also experienced that. I've got several cheap knockoff bulbs in my house, but they're on their own separate network that doesn't access anything else. So Jordan says I too had to assign my wife a static IP and change her DNS, running OpenSense and Proxmox with Unbound. That's cool. I dig that. Yeah, no, that's great. I really dig that. Again, if you guys are enjoying hanging out, if you could, as somebody put it earlier, smush the like button, that would be amazing. I'd really appreciate that. I think I'm here pretty soon. I'm going to start wrapping this up. This is usually about the time that my wife and I go spend some time together chatting about the day and watching TV and that sort of thing. So yeah, if you guys are interested in hitting the like button, that'd be really cool. If you want to become a channel member, so we had 2 new channel members during the stream tonight. So thank you guys. You can always become a channel member. You can join my Patreon or my Patreon, or become a member of dbtech.fans. Any of those 3 options will give you sometimes early access, but more importantly, ad-free access to my content. Like, I always put out 2 different versions of my videos, one that has a baked-in ad and ad rolls through YouTube, and one that doesn't. So if you want access to those videos with no ads at all, Like I said, Patreon, Google member, or the YouTube memberships, or dbtech.fans will give you access to all of my content over the past however long with no ads. If you want to check that out, that's an option. Womo Jack says, have you ever considered a job in IT? I have. I was a web developer, a front-end web developer for a long time. Really enjoyed that. I used to do a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of tech support for friends and family and local businesses and that sort of thing, just on a contract basis. And as Rob Duncan says, he does have a job in IT. It's sort of, yeah. Like I learn all of this stuff. I learn new Docker containers. I learn new technologies. Apparently not how to speak, but new technologies, and I share that knowledge with you guys. So yeah, you could kind of say I've got a job in IT. Spectacular Austin says, thank you so much for doing the live stream again. Love these streams. I honestly, I love doing them. I really do. Tanmay says, thanks. DNS over HTTPS. Yeah. Oh, so you're using NextDNS as your DNS over HTTPS. I dig that. I might have to look at that. Service to OpenSense. Need to replace my FortiGate firewall since it's getting closed. Oh, geez. Yeah, I'll have to look at that NextDNS with Stubby and whatnot, because I think that's a cool idea. Yeah, Tammy, I also hate fixing people's computers, especially when I can't be right there and I have to troubleshoot everything over the phone. It's a mind bender for me. But yeah, so guys, thank you. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I really do appreciate it. You guys have helped me come up with some ideas to make some videos to fulfill some contractual obligations. So I really do dig you guys being here. It's meant a lot to me. Wilmo Jack says thank you. I dig the channel a lot. Reconfigure my whole home network after watching this channel. Dude, that's awesome. That means a lot to me. I'm glad that my videos have been helpful. I really do appreciate that. Rob says he appreciates the hundreds of vids that he's watched on this channel over the years. That was I've always enjoyed teaching people things and explaining things and taking complex ideas and breaking them down into more simple ideas. And I love being able to do that here, and chatting with you guys really means a lot to me. So, Matches, I think you're talking to me. If you want to send them to me, you can email me, david@dbtechreviews.com. I'd love to take a look. I'm just over 100 terabytes on the Synology. Oh, you got the expansion thing there too. Might go Unraid next route. Yeah, I still need to dig into Unraid. I've had a couple of people offer me their spare license. I really need to dig into Unraid. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for the live stream. Thank you guys. It really does mean a lot. Your comments really mean a lot. I appreciate you. But yeah, guys, I think it's time to go spend some time with the wife and kind of unwind and try to get some rest. Maybe I'll go jump in the pool and cool off. But yeah, so again, thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you for liking and commenting on this, and the donations are much appreciated. They really are. Cyberpunk, yeah, you and one other person, I think it was actually JD. I don't mean to put words in anybody's mouth, but there was at least a couple of people who offered licenses. So, but yeah, it's on my list. I've got so many things on my list. But yeah, man, thank you guys so much. I really dig these. I'm gonna try to do something where we can get these scheduled about once a week and hang out for a couple hours and just kind of BS and find out what's going on in different parts of the world and what you guys are doing. So I'm gonna try to. We talked about in a previous live stream about doing, some like where we can share our different home lab systems and all that kind of stuff in videos. So yeah, I'm gonna start putting together some guidelines and that sort of thing. Start putting some thoughts on paper, and then maybe in an upcoming live stream we'll go through some of that, fine tune it so everybody can kind of agree. Because look, this channel is nothing without you guys. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much. I love having you here. I love chatting with you guys. And yeah, I will try to get something scheduled, and we'll go from there. But I hope you guys have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is, wherever you happen to be. So, yeah, take care, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.